Welcome back to the channel. In this video we're going to be doing Anne McCaffrey and Todd McCaffrey's book Dragon Harper. Sorry for my voice. I have a little bit of a respiratory thing going on, so hopefully you can bear with me on that. As always, before I get into the book, if you have any comments, any memories, or thoughts about the series, maybe this book in particular or the series, leave them down below. I'd love to hear from you. No spoilers though, please. As I'm continuing on, and there might be other people who decide that they might want to read these as well. With this book, this is actually a tale of two books, really. The first part of the book, it's following Kindon as an apprentice, Harper, back at Harper Hall. And he's got like all this great company. He's got, the dragon leader, the were leaders, and, Master Resist is in his quarter, and, he has more, I guess you could say, friends of status than the other apprentices do. And there is a character, Vaxaram, who basically is a bully. And there are two female Harpers that Vaxaram basically kind of threatens, and Kindon takes note of that and challenges Vaxaram to a duel. So Vaxaram is not a character that we like early on, but he does have redeeming qualities at the end, as I think Anne and Todd have shown time and again, that characters don't have to stay bad, that they can learn their lesson, that there's usually something holding them back that can make them become a bully or not likable in a way where they're always grumpy or something. I think Anne McCaffrey is good at that. I think Todd, lending his support has helped in that as well, though, we'll see going into, I believe the next book is just Todd on his own, so we'll have to we'll see how that is, because I've heard some stuff, but we'll go into that in the next video later after I finish the next book. But what else happens in the first part is that Kindon gets bonded to a fire lizard, a bronze fire lizard. They make their return to the book. So thinking Dragon Harper, it doesn't quite make sense, because Kindon does go to see if he can impress a dragon with Kristoff. So this kind of goes back a little bit into Dragon's Fire, but Kindon can't impress a dragon. So he's not going to be a Dragon Harper, even though Umtal would like to see him at Bend and Weir as the Dragon Harper. Anyway, as that's going on, as he's getting his Emerald Fire Lizard, the Lord Holder's daughter, Coriana, gets a gold Fire Lizard. And as the other two eggs hatch, which are supposed to be for her brothers, the golden fire lizard scares them both into going in between, which means they're gone forever. They go wild, basically. And all of a sudden there's these sparks between Kindon and Coriana, though a fort holder's daughter does not go with Harper. The fort holder, Benham, does not like Harper's. Says he doesn't trust Harper's, and definitely doesn't like Kindon. Always has these bad stares looking at him whenever they're around each other. So there's that, and then there's the duel between Vaxaram and Kindon. I'm not going to give that away, though I think you could probably figure out who wins the duel, who has more people in their corner to train him. But like I said, you can read that and see that one on your own. I don't want to give too much away. The second half of the book is very dark, and this is where a plague of the flu comes in. Now, we have to remember, and I've read some reviews where it's just, it's just all, you know, about, you know, there's too many things going on. There's always problems going on, and it's a settlement. I mean, it happens. You have that, um, and within that, problems will arise. And the thing that we have to remember, and I mentioned this in past videos, is this is a society that is going backwards. The technology is dying, or has died. The technology that the colonists brought with them, which really makes the original ones sci-fi, it's gone. All the records are now written. There's nothing. Anything that's can get copied is written. You have to send a message, long distance. You either have a dragon do it and go between to there, or you do it through drum messages, which is what the Harpers do. And there's basically all different categories of Harpers. There's a Master Harper who runs the Harper Hall. There's master healers and, master defense artists and master archivists. And they have below them journeymen and apprentices. And we see, though, because this technology is gone and they don't really know anything about this flu, it spreads. And it becomes... It's really, I mean, it reminds me, and this book was written, I think, 2018, though I'm not 100% sure on that, but I think it was 2018, maybe a little bit before that. Let me check real quick. Actually, 2007. What this really reminds me of, especially when Kingdom gets the idea of let's put on masks to cover the cough. This almost, it has an eerie premonition of COVID-19 and the pandemic, of that time, and living through that time where there's quarantine and things are shut down, and people are dying, and the ones that are surviving, it takes them so long that the holds are not going to be able to survive unless they get help. And the dragon riders cannot really help in the sense of they can't, even though they're immune from the diseases, they can take it back to the werefolk. And without the werefolk, they can't fight threat. And the last time a disease like this came through, it took... They're in the records, it says it took 20 turns for the wearers to recuperate. And the next thread is in 12 turns, or 12 years, basically. So there's no way that the Dragon Riders could fight thread without having their werefolk there. So basically the holds are on their own. And the Harper Hall are on their own. Though the Dragon Riders do help in other ways. And Kindon is very much a huge part of that, because he knows the Dragon Riders. He knows Umtal very well. And he has a fire lizard of his own, and he can send the fire lizard to send a message to them saying, hey, we need this kind of help. We need something. And some of the other stuff that we find, that stuff from the southern continent, will come back into this book a little bit. But it's just, the second half of the book it makes, even though I found myself turning the pages and I finished this book fairly quickly, the second half was very hard to read because it is so dark and macabre. The first half, there's some witticisms in there, and it's lighter. And the second half is it's such a contrast. And maybe that's why it works, is because it is such a contrast, the way it spreads so fast, and it's realistic in the sense that in this kind of a society, it will spread fast. And in the author's notes, Ann and Todd McCaffrey, I think they wanted to base this more on the Spanish flu, the Spanish influenza of 1918, that pandemic, which up until COVID-19 was one of the worst pandemics ever. So obviously COVID-19 hadn't happened by this book, but again, it's an eerie premonition of it, and just, it's hard to get through that second half. But if you can, I think it's rewarding, because there's some really uplifting moments in there, and I like the book. I like the characters. Even Voxaram, who you don't like in the beginning, again, redeeming qualities. There's most of the characters that were in the previous 3 books are here in this book. There's only a few more new ones, and they're likable too. I gave it 5 stars on Goodreads. At first, I was thinking 4.5, but the ending, I think, saved it for me. Saved the 5-star review. And I thought it was good. Again, it's a contrast, and the second half of the book is hard to read. It's hard to get through, because it's not happy scenes. But if you can get through it, then it's very much worth the time, I think. So again, 5 stars on Goodreads. I would recommend reading it. I would recommend reading the series. I'm doing it in chronological order. This was Pern 19 in publishing order, but this was my 6th book. Because I did I did Rescue Run as its own. So this would technically, even though this is book 7 that I've read, it's actually book 6 in the chronology. How you decide to read it is up to you. And I think the chronology makes sense to me. I don't know if publication order would make as much sense, the continuity of it. So that's why I'm doing it in chronological order. So, yep, 5 stars. I recommend it. I think it's a good book. It's a good series so far. And as always, please like, subscribe, turn on the notifications so you know when new videos are up. That that means a lot to me, and it helps me out. Also, if you have any comments, suggestions, or questions about this series, or suggestions of things for me that you might want to see me review, leave them in the comments below. I'd love to hear from you, and I'm always answering back. So yeah, until then, and until next time, let's keep YouTube literate, and God bless.